And this is the topic that we're going to discuss today is about bias, transparency, explainability, data privacy security challenges, regulatory challenges, IP and liability challenges, and we'll have a quick Q&A as well. So in terms of bias, right, why does bias comes into AI, right? So usually an AI system does not have a inherent bias, right? As human beings, we have our inherent bias, but the AI system gets biased through different segments of your AI system. It could be on the data that is being used, or it could be with the source code, or it could be the person behind operating this AI, right? And this is the way bias has been introduced into a AI system. And once a bias creeps into a AI system, it leads to a lot of dangerous outcomes, right? And whatever we are speaking, this is not a theory. This has happened in the past, and there are very much documented cases, right? You may research on about your Amazon hiring software which used AI to filter candidates, and for a long period of time it always rejected female candidates because the data that it was trained on was predominantly male candidates who were working on those leading roles, right? So bias can come in the form of caste, creed, religion, language. It can happen in terms of male, female. So there are various ways bias can also be injected into a AI system. Some of the common sources of bias is what you see on the screen. It could be in terms of algorithmic bias. This is because of the way the AI system, right, is coded, right, and the system makes incorrect decisions, right. This could be because the AI model has issues, right, and the issues could be in terms of the data that was used, or it could be the feedback that came from the human intervention, right? So algorithmic bias is one of the most common bias which is inherent with the AI model. Confirmation bias. So confirmation bias is where you always tend to take a sample space, right? And this is based on what a person believes, right? So usually the people behind the AI system, there is a reason for having a very diverse population set, as well as the people who are working in these model developments need to come from various backgrounds. This is exactly to avoid the confirmation bias, which relies on a perception of what people think is right or wrong, right? And this is also towards what is a fit right now at this point in time may not be a right fit going forward. Okay. And cognitive bias is something which happens, right? A person's personal preference, the person's likes and dislikes, who's behind the model training, comes into the reflection of the decision making as well. So this is primarily the reason behind the AI favoring a particular gender or a particular race. So this is probably because what AI is reflecting behind the person's belief, which is also very well documented. Okay. And measurement bias, this could be the sample data which had issues of demographic representation, and it could be in terms of the data set also have accuracy issues. Stereotyping, which is also very common, right? And this is linking to language, ethnic, and in terms of various factors I said. Exclusion bias is where your training data is not comprehensive, right? And it is often missing certain key aspects of required to make a comprehensive decision making ability for the AI, and this also leads to exclusion bias, right? So what you're seeing here is probably 20-30% of the types of bias. But beyond this, there are many other forms of bias, which is very, very important in terms of fixing those during the governance life cycle. And typically, the solution for this is having a range of skill sets, not just the developers and the testers. You need people who come from diverse backgrounds to be part of the governance team, and you need to have a very solid testing against various potential bias parameters, and you need to have a strong check in terms of your verification and validation, especially from the algorithmic bias perspective. There has to be a thorough testing, and the testing data has to be carefully selected, right? So there are n number of solutions which needs to be incorporated to ensure the existing and proven biases are avoided. The next important challenge is in terms of your explainability of AI, right? And whenever we say explainability or transparency, the biggest problem which happens with AI is whenever it's a neural network based AI system, AI model, it has a inherent challenge of not able to correlate the input to the output, right? So there is a AI system which produces an output, a result or a prediction, but it's very difficult to correlate between the input and the output, right? And it's often misleading, or often there is a complete opaqueness of the decision making, because the people who have developed it is even difficult for them to explain how exactly the model arrived at a particular decision. It is often related to a human brain. A human brain has so many neurons, and these neurons remember, right, its previous occurrence. It has a memory stack, and it's all interconnected. So similarly, a type of AI which is based out of neural networks, right? So there are millions and billions of information which is interconnected, and it becomes very difficult in terms of exactly relating to the impact of one data in a particular output scenario. So this is one of the biggest challenges with AI system. The regulations and the laws which are being enacted as of now, they are pushing the AI model developers towards bringing a reasonable transparency and explainability. When we say transparency and explainability, it starts from the training data set that is being used, the type of AI model, how the model learns, and how the model builds its continuous learning aspects, as well as in terms of your model card details. So even though it is quite still a challenge in terms of giving 100% deduction, right, where you will be able to, from an output to an input, will be able to flow a reverse data flow diagram. That's very tough still today. That's a challenge with the type of neural network based AI system itself. But explainable AI has to provide a degree of understanding to the user, right? In terms of the model characteristics, the input data, as well as in terms of how the data is going to be used by the model. So there are a lot of aspects which are now being mandated by the regulatory authority, right? So the aspects of your trust comes from these information. How can you rely on a particular AI system, right? So that depends on the type of training, the type of training data, right? The effect of testing, and the type of AI model itself, and the model's development life cycle. All these features are very explainable, very important towards moving in the direction of explainable AI. Okay, so explainable AI doesn't mean that you will be able to define the decision in every single instance, right? But it is a path or journey towards how can we move towards making AI as a system much more transparent. How can we build the trust for the user? Of course, it's not 100% a white box, right? That's about the transparency issue. When it comes to data privacy and security issues, the most important challenge in today's world is AI collects personal data, and whenever personal data goes into a AI system, typically the data privacy laws gets triggered. So there are so many data privacy laws around the world. It could be the GDPR or the Indian DPDP Act or any other laws for that matter. They have important obligation which is also applicable to an AI system. So the underlying condition for that is whenever personal data is part of the input data, or is it part of a training data, or if it's part of an output, definitely data privacy laws are going to be applicable to the AI system. And automated decision making, which is one of the very important aspects, right? Which is actually how we used to define a AI system. That's one key area where laws like GDPR has a direct impact. So there are data subject rights specifically addressing this area, which is a right to object automated decision making when it has a significant impact on the end user, right? And you may be aware, or some people might be surprised on what you're seeing on your screen. Most of these activities are now done as end-to-end AI processing. So in today's world, you cannot avoid AI deciding on a human being. It could be tomorrow you're applying for a job, tomorrow there is an bank application form, or it could be a credit card, or could be a loan, it could be any of these aspects. Definitely you are going to be subjected to a AI decision making. So AI decision making has a direct intersection with data privacy law like GDPR, and there are few other important aspects when it comes to data privacy and your AI laws. So the principles what you are seeing in data privacy or data protection has a significant difficulties when it comes to AI system implementation. In terms of lawfulness, fairness, and transparency, transparency is what we discussed in terms of your black box as a characteristics of your AI models. So in terms of your principles, your transparency is one of the biggest challenge. Purpose limitation is also an inherent challenge which many AI developers are right now facing. For example, a classical case you may read, LinkedIn was recently given a penalty on the exact grounds where it started using AI system to use your data to train them. So why did we sign on LinkedIn versus what LinkedIn was trying to do with the data was completely a purpose limitation violation, right? So you need to be absolutely clear when you're using personal data for training the AI models. This needs to be clearly called out by the business, the AI developers, or the deployers, right? The data minimization principle is a very tough challenge because AI needs huge volume of data, right? And data minimization is exactly opposite to it, because it says only collect the minimum and necessary and proportional data, right? So which is exactly opposite to how a AI system is usually conceptualized. It needs as much as data to improve its accuracy and relevancy to the decision making. Accuracy is also a challenge, because once a data goes into an AI system, how is it possible for us to rectify or even erase that data, right? Many of you might have used ghibli, right? So is it possible for you to go and delete the data? Is it possible for you to reverse whatever happened? No, correct? And the retention, that's another big challenge, right? Is it possible for you to have any confirmation on how long the data is going to be kept within a AI system? So there are a lot of inherent challenges when it comes to data privacy and your AI system and models, right? So a good 20% overlap is expected, right, in your AIGP exam from a data privacy background questions. So that's something which is going to be very interesting. So you need to have a solid understanding, right, on AI intersection with data privacy as well. What are the regulatory challenges, right? So from the AIGP perspective, we are gonna be discussing about the EU AI Act. The EU AI Act is a risk-based approach which classifies the AI systems into four categories. One is prohibited category, second is high risk, third is limited, and fourth is minimal risk. And for each of these categories, you have specific requirements to be met. So the regulatory challenges are going to only get steep as we move along, and you're going to see a lot of push from the regulators, and it's going to be having a very big impact on the business if they do not foresee these requirements and they are sort of hurriedly implementing AI system. You might be facing a very high level of penalties and your fines, because EU AI Act has taken the bar on the penalty to the next level. It has taken up to 35 million, okay, or 7% of the worldwide turnover. And apart from this, there are n number of obligations which are called out based on the risk levels and also based on the type of AI system. So the regulatory requirements are also increasing, but it's only the tip of the iceberg, because more and more laws are going to be created in terms of your AI governance. For example, in India, there is no specific law as of now, but you can definitely expect some of the other law or regulatory requirements that will come up in this space in India as well. Okay, so there are specific obligations for developers, for deployers, right? And based on your stakeholder role, you also have certain responsibility carved out. So there are regulatory challenges even if you are operating outside European Union, but if your model is subjected for use within the European Union space, right, you will trigger the cross-border obligations as well. So sitting in India, if you are creating a system and it's being deployed in EU, and you will still be coming under the hammer of EU AI Act. So the regulatory challenges is something which you need to be specifically aware. It's only going to increase. Like once GDPR came in 2018, there are so many data privacy laws that evolved during this period, right? So the same is expected in terms of your EU, sorry, AI governance as well, right? The good thing about AI governance compliance requirement versus a data privacy compliance requirement is that whenever data privacy or information security related budgeting request or in terms of the cost associated with the program, the organization sees as a cost center, right? So there is always a pushback in terms of those requests. Whereas when you see AI governance, it is a revenue center. It's actually helping organization transform the entire IT landscape. So the organizations are happy to spend on the AI governance part, which still gives them some high profitability, right? So that's the reason I would always say this is the best time to enter into AI governance, and there are so many opportunities which are opening up in terms of governing this particular space. The challenges of AI does not stop just with your data privacy requirements. It is also with your intellectual property, right? And your liability aspects as well. Today, as we speak, the liability laws are being reformed across the world. The intellectual property related lawsuits are piling up because there is a clear questions being asked by the AI whether AI constitutes as a owner of the data. The answer so far, which is loud and clear, is no. There has to be a significant human involvement to make it as a intellectual property, right? And the data that is being fed into the AI system has an intellectual property associated with this. These infringements are going to be very costly. The copyright issues are also going to be very costly, right? The data, the information which is being fed part of the training data set, the output, right? All these things are creating a huge scarcity of people who have a techno legal background along with your AI governance, right? So as we speak, this is again a very, very early stage. The lawmakers are parallelly working towards coming up with how do we handle these questions. And there are verdicts which are coming around the world. There have been already enough cases filed against AI in terms of AI is actually scraping the intellectual property of various organizations and data of some of the artists or organizations, and lot of interesting cases are already there lined up, and lot of results are also expected in this year and next year on this space. So I wanted to intentionally keep the basics of these five topics at a very high level, and the reason for that is I wanted to discuss on the solution of this, of how do a person can bring this capabilities and how do they showcase this to the world. The answer to the question is your AIGP certification. So the AIGP certification is considered as the pioneer, or in terms of, not the pioneer, in terms of the most recognized certification as of now in terms of AI governance. So if you have this certification, definitely organization consider you as an expert on AI governance. There are not many certifications which are available with this world class standard. It's not tied to one country or one law. It has a global recognition. Whichever part of the world you may go, this AIGP is definitely going to be considered. So this certification is provided by IAPP, and IAPP has been the leaders when it comes to your data privacy certifications, right? So there are so many jobs being replaced by AI, but the jobs of AI governance is something which is being created by this AI. So you want to decide on which side of the spectrum you want to stay for the next 5 years, right? So there's going to be a huge requirement on AI governance experts who understands technology, data privacy, right, and artificial intelligence. So there is a good volume of people to be trained on this particular skill set by most of the companies as well, right? So what you will learn in this particular certification, you will learn about the foundation of AI governance. So you don't need to worry that what if I don't have the basics about AI? What if I am very new to technology? So don't worry, this certification course will start from the basics. We will cover the foundation terms right from what is a model, what is a AI system, what is an algorithm which is going to be used to train the model. We will take all the basic terms one by one and we will be explaining it, right? And we will be discussing on the various laws, standards and framework. We will be discussing about EU AI Act. We will be discussing on 42001 at a high level and the various frameworks which are applicable. We will be discussing two important topics. One, how to govern the AI development and how to govern the AI deployment. So these two topics are the most important aspects which the organizations are seeking those skill sets. They need people who know how to govern AI development and how to deploy AI for the organization. So for that, module 1 and module 2 will be the core foundation for you to excel on module 3 and module 4. So it's a very nicely crafted curriculum which covers a comprehensive coverage of what is required for you to become a successful AIGP professional. The AIGP opportunities are on absolute rise. I'm just giving you an IBM statistics, right? You can see the number of percentage of increase, right? And the country which is sort of leading the chart is very closely in India as well and in China, right? So we are leading the race in terms of governing the AI, right? So we, as how IT transformed India in terms of the opportunities, AI is currently transforming this entire IT. So China and India are gonna play a very critical role, right? So those n number of business use cases which organizations are rapidly evolving, and this is where AI governance professional certification plays a very important role, right? So the numbers speaks for itself, and it's only gonna increase going forward. So both the statistics are one from McKinsey and second from IBM. So you can just cross check it. It's only gonna increase for the next 5 to 7 years. Who should take AIGP? It's one of the most common questions people ask me. So people from security background, data privacy background, from legal background are the perfect choices. The reason is it has intersection. Although legal is not mentioned here, but you need legal professional people to interpret the law, handle the AI related infringements, IP, as well as your contractual obligation part, right? So there is going to be a very niche area developing for the legal people as well. And apart from that, security and data privacy professionals are definitely going to have a lot of opportunities here, especially people who are from GRC background, right, and data privacy background. It becomes a very natural extension for you to hop onto AIGP, right? And in my previous training, people who have come completely from non-technical backgrounds such as project management, company secretaries, and they are still acing the AIGP. So there is no showstopper for you to consider that whether I'm a fit or not. So the training is going to cover everything from absolute basics. So don't worry on that front. It's going to be giving you the all required information. So whatever I'm trying to claim, you can verify in LinkedIn. Just within this week, 3 people passed AIGP. You can cross check with anyone. So there are people who joined my training. They had a wide range of background and experience. So there are no limitation as such for who can take this course. And once you become an AIGP, you are going to be responsible for AI practices within the organization, and you are going to be a very important stakeholder in terms of addressing the key issues, whatever we discussed when we started this webinar. How about this exam? This exam has 100 questions, a total of 165 minutes, and you need to secure 300 marks out of 500. The exam is scaled between 100 to 500. You can write the exam both in online as well as in an exam center. Both are digital versions. There are no experience or educational prerequisite for taking the exam. If you look at the IAPP portal, this is the cost which is mentioned, and we will be giving a very lucrative offer as we are authorized training partner of IAPP. So regarding the price, you can check with the sales team. We will be providing you the contact details. So this is the AIGP curriculum. We saw there are 4 modules as per the official syllabus. IAPP has prepared the contents breaking out into 7 modules. Again, the content that we are going to discuss during the training is also prepared by IAPP. As I told you, we are official IAPP training partners. So you're going to get those materials curated by IAPP. The best part is right now there is no textbook. So we are going to discuss everything from the participants guide which is prepared by IAPP, and I will be giving you enough additional materials whatever you need to learn, and the certification will be also driven from an examination perspective. How do you need to prepare for the exam, right? So there are going to be mock tests, there are going to be a lot of practical examples in terms of the application of those concepts as well. I'm not going to drive into each and every module, but this is what we discussed in the overall curriculum as well. Why InfosecTrain? This is going to be a 24 hours model in terms of split into 3 weeks, right? And it's going to be a guaranteed lower price. You can compare yourself any global trainer of IAPP, and this is the best price you can get. Part of this package, you're going to get the IAPP notes, exam voucher, 1 year membership, part of the standard package. The differentiator, it's going to be a case study approach. I'll be giving you all the templates, useful resources once you need to land into a job. All those AI assessment templates, the policy templates, all those whatever you need part of your job is going to be provided to you during the training. So there's going to be a dedicated exam strategy session, and we will be discussing on the exam support of how you need to ace this exam. And people who are starting fresh or whoever needs career guidance, we can definitely get on a one-to-one call with me.